hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. While listening, you'll be exposed to inspiring, empowering, and unifying perspectives that I'm highly confident will yield stellar results in your life if you opt to try them on for size. Also, at optimistic.tv, we have officially begun releasing the first few episodes of our new late-night style, consciousness-elevating video variety talk show, Optimistic, which features live visionary art, soul share interviews, retreat guests here at the Mystic Manor, as well as live musical performances. I'm also super excited to announce that we are currently making plans to release the rest of Season 1 on my personal favorite online streaming service. So stay tuned to optimistic.tv to follow the unfolding development of this exciting Optimistic expansion, as we'll be posting more info and release dates there soon. And in the meantime, be sure to check out, of course, the first few episodes at optimistic.tv as well.
Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is positive head listener Yesika Bravo. Yesika is a licensed acupuncturist, Reiki master, teacher, and intuitive healer. Hi, Yesika. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here, too. For those of you who are just tuning into this series, maybe for the first time, this series, the P-Head Posse episode series, is all about the listeners of this amazing podcast, because all of you amazing listeners are doing such beautiful things, creating beautiful things to put into the world. And, you know, Brandon wanted to have a time for you guys to shine. And so, Yesika, you are someone that I've known and worked with, and we connected through this podcast ultimately. And I know you're part of the Purium fam and all of that, but you are like working and creating some really beautiful things in the world. I'm so excited for you to share about it. But before we get into all that, as always, we love to just know, what your story is, where you've been before this beautiful place that you're in. So would love if you could share whatever feels relevant to your story with us.
Absolutely. So I am, as Alexa mentioned, I'm an acupuncturist, and the way I got here was essentially I was on the route towards trying to get to medical school. Basically, my background is sports medicine, athletic training. That's what my undergrad is in, and I was hell-bent on becoming an orthopedic surgeon, and I thought that's what I wanted. And I was really lucky and blessed to have the opportunity to shadow the ortho that was associated with our program at the time. And I got to shadow him for my whole senior year of college, and was with him like once a week, basically, either in the office or in the OR. And it was an incredible experience. Got to see some really cool surgeries and procedures. But at the same time, I realized it was not the route I wanted to take anymore. And I knew there had to be a better way out there to help people in the way I truly wanted to help them. And so I just went on a search for like a whole year. I was trying to figure it all out. And every possible door I tried was like slammed shut in my face, or like wouldn't even open. And then one day I was talking with somebody, pretty sure they were a stranger to me, and I was telling them my story, and I did happen to mention one of my interests was to eventually also study herbs and herbal medicine, because I grew up with it in my home, being Hispanic, Cuban, Dominican. My grandparents always had that in the home, and I grew up taking just medicine that they would take from the yard and like make teas and salves and all sorts of things for me growing up. And so I knew there was power in the plants, and I wanted to learn that. And they were like, oh, well, haven't you considered acupuncture school? And they usually have an herbal program. And that was pretty much it. Like, I looked into it and I fell in love, and just smooth sailing after that. Not to say it wasn't difficult. It was definitely a very tough program, 4 years of study and clinical work before graduating, but it was just like meant to be the whole way through. There was every possible door that could open just did, and it flowed very, very easily for me in that sense. So now fast forward 5 years later, I've had my own private practice, and thriving and loving everything that I do. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
That's beautiful. And I love all of the, the story about the doors and doors being shut and doors flying open, because it's just such a beautiful way to illustrate that, you're always really being guided, especially, and even in the times when I think you feel like you're being rejected. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what if you're not being rejected? What if you're actually just being guided, and it's just the universe saying, no, not that way. There's a different way that's actually going to make you really happy,
Absolutely. And that's what, at the end of the day, like, once I was in the midst of the acupuncture program, I, like, looking back, I was like, okay, this is really where I was meant to be. And that's why none of that other stuff worked out.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And now now what are you doing? I know before COVID, you had your own acupuncture. What did you call it? Like what did you call
My
it?
own practice.
Your own practice. Yeah. And you would like see people in person all the time, right? And so what has that adjustment been like for you with COVID, because it's a shift?
Yeah, it's been a major shift. I had to close the office temporarily, still closed. And so I'm seeing patients virtually. So that is basically what that looks like, is I'm guiding people through acupressure sessions. And so we do it together through a video call, and work on the concerns that they would normally work on in the office. And same goes for new patients. I would go through full health history with them as I would in the office. And then based on what concerns we want to address and what the bigger picture looks like, we do the acupressure together for that.
Yeah. What can acupressure do for people, for those who don't know, or just maybe they've heard of it, but they've never actually tried it? Like, what can that do for their health and their body and their life?
Yeah, so stimulating acupuncture points through acupressure, whether you're using your hands or a tool, can start to open up the pathways for self-healing. So our bodies have an innate ability to heal itself from the time we're born. And it's just something that becomes dormant or shut down over time, simply due to environmental factors, lifestyle factors, toxins, things of that nature, that inhibit that ability to really take place fully the way it's meant to. And so acupuncture and acupressure help to bring that back into your system, back into balance, in order to perform those healing tasks that the body would normally take care of on its own. So yeah, very beneficial.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to describe it. It's kind of like, I kind of got an image of like, there's like a traffic jam in your body, and it's kind of like an immediate like traffic cleanup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one way that I describe it to people. It's like there's either a traffic jam. Another way I describe it is if you think of the meridians or the channels running through your body as like the wiring in your home, right? The electrical wiring system. If there's a wire somewhere that's been cut, or has, the insulation around that wire is no longer intact, the signal may not be getting through to a particular room. And so that could be an area in your body. And so it's not getting that full flow of current of energy to that room, providing the power that it needs, whether it be either just an outlet that's not working or the lights in the room aren't working. And so once we fix that connection, it's able to now provide the energy to that area again, right? So that's really cool.
Love that.
Our bodies are electric, right? Anyways, so it's a really good analogy for people to understand.
Totally, for sure. And I talk about this in like my work with EFT. It's like, you know, it took me a long time to understand. It's like, just like you said, our bodies are energy, right? And so like our bodies are healthy when the energy is flowing freely, like when all the electricity is running and it's all on. Yep. And when there's shortages or, you know, cut wires or anything like that, it's like, yeah, you're going to have aches or pains or issues in that area because it's not getting any energy. It's not getting any, the lights are not going to come on. It's not going to be operating correctly. So it's a beautiful way to, I think it's really awesome that you're able to take acupuncture into the alternate form of acupressure and do this with people in their own homes virtually. And you're also just like really empowering people, you know, to show themselves like how to do it to themselves. Because I know with acupuncture, it's like they come in, they get the needles in, and that's probably a more precise way. And maybe I don't even know. And, you know, but this way, it's like, I feel like we're in this time right now, this great awakening time. It's all about being shown, hey, you can do this yourself. Like you can grow your own food. You can heal your body. You can, you know, all this stuff. You can make money from your home. You can do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that strongly. I've always tried to give my patients when they come to the office, like little bits of what I would call homework or just nuggets of information so that I don't overwhelm them all at once. But it would always either include some sort of point stimulation or just breath work. But at the end of the day, like if you take all the information together in bulk, you know, it gives them a system. Whether they remember it or not is really the truth, the catch. But it's but I always try to instill that whatever you can do for yourself is so much more powerful than what I can do for you, because I can only do so much. If you're going home and still continuing to do the things that cause the aches and pains, then my work is only going to go so far before it kind of hits a standstill. And so it's really up to the receiver or the patient to take it to the next level and generate that full healing.
Yeah. So cool.
Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, Curable. Curable is an app that takes a different approach to helping people manage and alleviate their chronic pain. I know it's been hard to watch my own father, who I've always viewed as indestructible, become increasingly limited in his movements due to chronic knee pain and having to deal with the frustration of not knowing how to treat it effectively. Fortunately, modern neuroscience is illuminating more and more how chronic pain develops and worsens. Studies show that the brain and central nervous system play a much more significant role in chronic pain than we once thought, and by retraining the brain to process pain differently, we can reduce symptoms and gain more control. So if you're struggling with chronic pain, the Curable app can help you get your life back by guiding you through science-backed techniques designed to help you overcome fear of movement, symptoms, and never getting better. It also offers strategies that can help retrain your brain's response to pain and in many cases reduce the intensity and frequency of symptoms. Curable offers both a free and paid version of the app. If you use our link to sign up and get started with the free version, you'll get 50% off if you ever decide to upgrade to a subscription. Just go to getcurable.com/positivehead to set up your free account. That's spelled GETCurable.com/positivehead.
And I know that you're working on something right now that's really beautiful and unique and special. And like, it just feels like such a cool idea and product. I would love if you would share a little bit about that.
Yes. So it ties right into all of the acupressure stuff. I have created a wellness deck that is based on the 8 principles, or the 8 branches rather, of classical Chinese medicine. And so this is going to be a card deck that's going to be simple and easy to use, along with a guidebook that will provide some additional information. And the cards include topics for, or cards for, meditation, movement, nutrition, body work, and acupressure. And then within the guidebook, there's also additional information to support on all of that, on the cosmology, the feng shui, or the environment that you're in or creating, and what was the other? And herbs, herbology. So it's, as well as there's also going to be some like recommended point combinations, because in the acupressure section, there's just a number of points. And so it'll show you, if you're for a specific goal, these are the ones you can combine, but you can also like free form, pick and choose what you want to use. And it's really beautiful. It's coming out more beautiful than I imagined, as far as like the look and design of it all. And it's this deck specifically, the whole series is called Wellness Within, but this first deck or edition is for anxiety and stress. And so there will be future decks to come for different topics or concerns. So there'll be a survey coming out soon for what the next deck should be, which is how I came up with this first one to begin with. So it's a potential for like a deck on GI concerns or pain management, could be headaches, sleep, whatever kind of takes the lead for this next one. But eventually all of these topics will be covered with their own individual decks.
Amazing. How did you come up with the idea for this originally? Like, what made you think like, okay, I'm going to take this information and put it into like an oracle deck form, basically?
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny. It was in the midst of all of this, pandemic quarantine situation, but it came to me. I was taking a shower, and all of a sudden I got this idea.
Best ideas come in the shower.
Yeah.
Every time. I would not be sitting here hosting this podcast if it wasn't for the idea that came to me in the shower. So
exactly. And it just came to me all of a sudden, like, there needs to be a way to share what I'm doing, or the message that I try to convey to my patients, on like a bigger scale in some way, or some easily accessible scale, where people that aren't even my patients can learn about this and start to create that self-healing we were talking about earlier, or reawaken, reignite that healing potential within their body. My initial idea was actually to create like a general deck that would include like 2 or 3 points for each concern. So I was going to include like maybe 15 to 20 concerns that I typically would see in my office, and then just include 2 or 3 points, and then have a little booklet or something to go with it with some information. But then as I then sat with that idea and talked it over with a few close friends and family, it kind of blossomed into this bigger vision of really providing more, because then I felt like I was in a way limiting myself, because if I tried to include everything I wanted to include, you'd end up with like a 200 card deck, right? Yeah. Covering all of these different things. And I thought people are going to get overwhelmed if it's going to have all of these different conditions or concerns within one deck that they may not need. Mm-hmm. And so breaking it down into a main concern and focusing just on that allows people the opportunity to like say, yeah, this is something that I really struggle with, and give you a whole system approach for every area in your life in order to address it, rather than like, all right, let me sift through this whole set of cards and find something that will address my concern. And so yeah, it just brings a little bit more focus with a broader kind of range of ways that you can integrate different forms of healing into your life and really grow that practice and create some lasting change for your health.
Yeah. That's awesome. And also like the, Oracle decks I feel like are just so in right now. Like just decks. Everyone loves decks.
Yeah.
There's so many different types of decks. It's a fun way, I feel like it's a
Yep.
fun way to kind of play with like getting to know your body even, and getting to know, like, it's not that necessarily if you like, if you kind of do it at random and you turn over a card that like it's like that literal thing is, but maybe it's something you need to know at that time. Maybe it's something you need to explore with yourself at that time. Maybe like focusing on that point even that you think has nothing to do with anything you're dealing with might actually really be something that sets off something else. Like, I don't, it's a really fun idea to think about combining these holistic health practices with an oracle deck, because I think it, as you've been saying, it just kind of allows for learning and integration in a whole new way. And that's what we need right now,
Yeah. And it can totally be used in either a very like structured way where you kind of will maybe pull a card from each section and create like a little mini practice for the day. Or like you said, kind of just intuitively just pull one or two cards and see what comes up and use that. Because again, the whole deck, no matter what you choose, is intended to address stress and anxiety. But there's also what's really beautiful about acupuncture and Chinese medicine as a whole, I find, is that even though you may have a particular point whose main action is to address stress or relieve anxiety or calm the mind or calm the heart, it also has all these other secondary or tertiary functions that kind of can address a vast amount of things at once. And so it may be something that is aligned with other things you have going on that aren't necessarily just the stress and anxiety, or just support your whole system overall. So it's a really beautiful system to play with, and like you said, just learn to integrate it, and really understand and get in touch with your body and how your body feels and what it needs. So
totally, it's so cool. And Yesika, you have this on, what is it? Is it on Kickstarter?
It's on Indiegogo.
Yeah. So if you guys are digging this and love this, or you want one, this is like, I'm already a backer. I was like one of the first people. I'm like, yup,
yes,
me, I want this. So, if you resonate with this, if you like, also, as Yesika said, it's like beautiful. The design of it is absolutely gorgeous. And it just feels so, even just the design of it feels so calming. Like, even I feel like just holding these cards in your hand is just going to feel so calming. And there's so much beautiful intention put into this deck. So if this is something that you're looking for, then, or you want to support, or you want one, then what do? They go search Wellness Within deck on Indiegogo?
They can do that. I actually have a link that'll be pretty easy for them to find, where I've redirected it. So you can go to wellnesswithindex with an S at the end.com. Awesome. And then it'll redirect you to the Indiegogo page.
Wellnesswithindex.com. Yeah. So we will put that in the show notes for those of you who want to go there and click and support. It would be so appreciated and beautiful. Yeah. That's so exciting, Yesika. I'm so excited for you.
It's super exciting. And you have the option to either pre-order one deck for yourself, or if you feel like you know somebody in your life that you want to gift it to, there's also a couple bundle options on there as well that gives a little bit more of a discount. But yeah, and these are all going to be, or they are, every card is infused with some Reiki energy. So it's going to be healing in every way. So I'm really excited.
So awesome. I love it. It's such a beautiful idea. It's such a beautiful thing you're putting out into the world. And, and just going back to kind of what we were touching on earlier, it's like, this is a really important time, I think, to be giving people these tools so that they can discover their own wellness, so that they can discover their own healing and their own empowerment. Because, as the virus continues and as, more things happen in the world that can be kind of low vibe or fearful or, all of that stuff continues, I think it's more important than ever to be, like we said earlier, empowering ourselves and reminding ourselves things that maybe we haven't even known before right now, and realizing the power that we have to heal our bodies if we just bring ourselves kind of into alignment, right? Can you speak about that a little bit? Like maybe for someone who is sitting here and is on this path and is interested in this, but maybe they just need a little reminder of how powerful they are, like with their own healing.
Yeah, there's so much untapped potential within us. Our cells and our tissue all holds this deep memory within, right? And so the ability is already within you. You don't have to, other than taking that first step, there's nothing that is going to stop you from starting the healing process. It's a matter of bringing that awareness to yourself, setting the intention to start creating some healing, and then integrating the tools to, or that knowledge in order to facilitate it. It certainly helps if you're eating well, if you're moving your body in some mindful way. Oftentimes I find, people do exercise, but they don't really exercise with intention or mindfully. They kind of just go through the motions. And yes, you may see some results, but you can also see some injury come from that. If you move your body mindfully, then you're really integrating not only movement, but movement of energy, right? You're moving the body and moving the energy in your body. And doing mindfulness practice or self-cultivation, if we're talking about the meditation, which is really the highest form of the medicine, that is the best place to start. Start with your breath, start with your, how you're thinking. And, if we talk about the 8 branches for a moment, that is the first of the 8 branches is meditation or self-cultivation. And for a couple of reasons. One, it's the oldest form of the medicine, chronologically speaking. But secondly, and I think most importantly, is that it is, as I said, the highest form, because that which you can do for yourself, like I said earlier, is so much more powerful than what anybody else can do for you. And so that's why if we talk about the order of these 8 branches, we have first meditation, we have movement, then we have nutrition, then we have cosmology, feng shui, body work, herbology, and then acupuncture or acupressure. So those last 2 or 3, if we, because body work can be done either by yourself or provided by another. But those first 5 are all things that you can do for yourself and integrate and kind of be in control of. And the herbs, you would need a provider to knowledgeably, prescribe herbs. And then acupuncture and acupressure are traditionally provided or, performed by a provider as well. But now acupressure, is something that you can also do on yourself, and is very common practice over, the history of medicine as well. People doing these self-care practices in their homes, and then seeing a practitioner when a little bit more is needed. But that knowledge, didn't really carry over into our culture or wasn't really revered as important. And so, but now, as we talked about earlier, like now is the time where like people are really starting to shift their mindset and seeing that there is more than just, prescriptions and taking Western medication for things. And so something as simple as a headache can really be addressed in a very holistic and natural way, just using your body's own healing functions and these different pressure points or energy centers within the body to generate that healing to occur. So, yeah.
It's so cool because I just got this image this has been happening to me so much lately where like someone's talking and suddenly I'm getting all these images and it's like illuminating things to me that I'm like, well, I knew that, but I felt like I didn't cellularly know that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yep.
I factually know like, yeah, it's good to meditate because you want to like hook up to the energy, right? But it's almost like I didn't sensorially or like I couldn't embody that knowledge until this moment when I like actually got an image of like, yeah, like meditation is it's like reconnecting to your phone. Your phone's dying, right? It's running out of battery. You need to connect it to the source and then it'll fuel again and then it'll run better and it'll all the things. And it's like that. It's like I was just getting this image of like, yeah, meditation is even in just meditating could heal you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're letting go of all the things that interfere with the healing and you're allowing it. And so I don't know, everything you just said just illuminated for me. Again, all these things I factually knew, but almost like I just felt it and was like, whoa, we are magical. Like, this is so cool, you know?
Yeah, totally. We are magical. I mean, I'm even after all these years of education and like continuing education through, requirements for my licensing and all of that, I still am like so fascinated by what the body can do. It's just never ending. And the fact that like what's even more mind blowing is that thousands of years ago, the practitioners or the people that first kind of formed this medicine in the East, like they had such a sense of knowing of the body and what it did, and then taking it upon themselves without science being what it is today. Like they did do dissections and things like that to understand what the connections were within the body and why certain things responded in certain ways. And like they understood like the fascia well before like Western medicine has even like now they're starting to make the connection and understand like, oh yeah, fascia is a big deal. Like it's not just that like connective tissue that just wraps around and holds things in place. Like it's a lot more to that than just the structure of it. And so the body is so fascinating. The way it was like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. I think about this all the time. Like recently I've been thinking about it a lot more, how it's like the way that like you will get a fever. Like, okay, your body will give you a fever. You will get a fever, right? If you have a virus, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But why is that? Because your body is literally saying, oh, there's something foreign in here. We got to cook it off. Like we got to get so hot that it can't survive in here. And it's like, what? Like your body is automatically like turning into a furnace so that this thing that isn't supposed to be there can, be killed off basically. And then the other thing, sorry, I know you just probably froze.
Yeah,
it's okay. I was just reiterating that about like how intelligent the body is, that it just automatically knows to do that. And then there's another one about, if you, what was it? Like when you faint, it's actually because your body is trying to equal out, like get the blood to your head too. There's not enough blood in your head, something like that. This is what my husband told me. But little things like that where it's like you think it's, oh God, my body, and we criticize our body for it. We're like, oh, like I have a fever. Oh, I have this. It's like, but actually your body is doing this super intelligent thing trying to help you, which is so amazing,
Yeah. And our body is constantly communicating to us, either that something's wrong or that it needs something. And the unfortunate thing that's happened over generations is, especially in our society, our culture, is that we just ignore those signs. We think like, oh, it's just a little bit of pain, or it's just a little bit of bloating, or it's just a little bit of gas. Like it's no big deal. Like it just happens when I eat these certain things, or this pain happens when I do these certain movements, but it's not debilitating. And so we'll kind of just push through things or just mask it, take an antacid or something without really understanding what the root of the problem is. And And over time, the body will increasingly get louder. Like it will try to send the message some way to you so that you can address what it needs. And so sometimes it gets to the point where I don't want to say the point of no return, because there's always a way to kind of, start heading in the right direction. But for some, unfortunately, you get to the path where it's like, now you need surgery, or now something needs to be repaired, or the body, gives such a negative response that some sort of bigger intervention is needed. When really, if we listened from the very beginning and took those first signs into consideration and did something about it then, or addressed the root then it would be resolved very quickly and very easily without any major distress to the body. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I remember, did you see that documentary Heal? I think it was called Heal. It's on Netflix. If not, you would really like it. It's all about,
yeah.
But anyway, I forget who, some expert in that movie said it best. They were like, listen, there's a time, and actually I think maybe it was Deepak Chopra or something like that. He was like, look, it's not that Western medicine is bad. There's a time and a place for it. Like if you break a bone, you need if you need surgery, you need Western medicine. Like you need that.
Absolutely.
But like we have had it so out of balance where we're like Western medicine for everything, when really it should be Eastern medicine, Eastern philosophy for daily life, for long term, for, and Western medicine for emergencies. Like,
yeah.
And so, and I think it really comes back to this, like the Western is all about like now, immediate, go, distract, like magic pill. And the Eastern philosophy is about like presence and communication and like honoring, ourselves and connecting with ourselves. And it's very interesting how, like, as we become, I think, a more conscious society, as we wake up more, this Eastern philosophy is rising and coming back. Because and somatic practices and all of this are coming back up because we're learning how to be back in the body after being programmed in many ways to just be in our heads at all times. Right?
Absolutely.
So thank you, Yesika, for being one of the people that's helping like lead us back to this. And, I can speak for my own experience with you is like, you've been someone who has been such a amazing kind of bridge to this information for me, because I think it can be overwhelming for some people, or just kind of like, you have to have, I feel like if you want to learn about this, you have to learn about it from someone who you really trust, or who knows it and who can, convey it in a way that makes sense and that feels, interesting. And I think you really do that. And so I'm so happy that you're utilizing your knowledge and your gifts and you're putting them into these beautiful decks for everyone to have as a tool to continue with their own learning. And I know you work with people privately too sometimes. So how can people reach out to you if they want to, work with you, be a client, all that?
They can find me on social media. I have my business page, Bravo Holistic Healing, and that's both for Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Bravo Holistic Healing. And then I also have my business website is bravoholistichealing.com. And now my website for my decks is Wellness Within Decks. And can learn more about the decks there, as well as a little bit more about me. And I'd be happy to connect with anybody that wants to, learn more about this journey, right? This journey towards self-healing, and or that wants to use any services, whether it be acupressure or distant Reiki healing. Doing a lot of those these days, and it's really powerful medicine to integrate. So I'm really excited, and I'm honored to be like a vehicle, or a person that can provide this information, or be a source of this information for anyone who's open to receive it. living out my purpose.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast and sharing your beautiful light. And yeah, if you guys are resonating with Yesika, definitely check out the show notes. We will put all of her information there. Go check out her decks. Support this because, guys, like, I keep thinking about the future children of the world. Like, this is what, the knowledge that we want to pass on to them so that they get to know their bodies and they get to know how to deal with these things as they grow up. And I think, again, like, fun tools like this are perfect ways to do that. So, Yesika, thank you for coming on the show. We love you so much.
Thank you so much. Love you too. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Until next time. Bye.
Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you about the game with the universe on our website. You can choose the first number that comes to your mind, and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time. And if you go to positivehead.com/universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to spark the curiosity of friends and family by having them choose a number, so they'll hopefully go and check out their number as well, which I greatly appreciate because it helps us to spread the word about the podcast. Once again, the address is positivehead.com/universe. And as a quick reminder, if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them almost every day, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I cannot stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so. I have my favorite, the appleberry shake, at least 5 times a week. Once again, to learn more about the Purium transformation, go to positivehead.com/transformation. Or if you want to keep it simple and just try out my favorite, the appleberry shake, you can go straight over to ishoppurium.com and be sure to use code positivehead for 25% off. I'll spell that for you. It's ishoppurium.com. And be sure to use your Positive Head 25% coupon code.